Sounds pretty epic.
Hello, and welcome to the Warrior Arts Renaissance Show, where you give us hard questions and we give you solid answers. I'm your host, Dr. Philip Payne. My co-hosts at large are Xiaoxi Raymond Pridgeon, Master Josh Slater, Master Don Holmes, Master Eric Allfield, and Master Tom Meredith. The Warrior Arts Renaissance Show is a production of Payne Unlimited LLC, and any proceeds will go to support the Ezra Foundation in its ongoing effort to end human trafficking worldwide. With that said, grab you a drink and pull up a chair to the table of the masters. Lend us your ear.
I I haven't had much time in the adulthood world yet. Only 19. I am. But yeah, thus growing up in the dojo and martial arts in general, I have seen many students come and go. Many individuals, I've seen many offers be made, and I've seen some bridges burn. Just how it works in general in life, not just in martial arts. But now that I'm an instructor, I take the safety of my students and the ones under me, my co-high, I guess, taking it more seriously now that I'm the sole person responsible for their knowledge, their education in martial arts. I take it more personal. I would take it more personal for another student somehow harm my school or another student or state. Kind of like, I guess, I'm looking at it like a young father. Now that I have the right to start my own school. Or maybe I should word it as I have built a sailboat of my own throughout the years, and now I am navigate the waters of being an instructor and trying to other people build their own sailboat so that one they can pass on the knowledge of martial arts. How should I go about making the judgment call of this person will be a good student or this person will not be a good student or this person is toxic to the community? I should not let them be associated to my school or my school of training.
Well, there are different perspectives on that. And I've had teachers who said, I just teach martial arts. Whoever comes in, I'll teach them. What they do with it is their own business. I've had teachers who did a full criminal background check on every prospective student before they let them walk in the door, and I've seen just about everything in between. I tend to begin as the first and say, you know what, if you just walk in off the street, if I don't know that you're that person who's going to go out and abuse it, I'll teach you some very bare basics. But as you know from experience, when people first come in, I'm not one of those instructors who, I might do something to wow them, but then I don't turn around right around and show them how to do those things that are amazing them. And that's a little bit of I guess, a commercialization thing, because in the old days, you wouldn't even see that wow stuff up front. But I like to give people an idea of what they're working toward. But then what do I do? Okay, now we're going to teach you how to stand and how to breathe and how to walk and how to breathe while you walk, and go through that. And part of what I'm doing during that time is, for one thing, I'm seeing how much you really want it. Okay, because if you leave after 2 or 3 classes of learning how to walk, then you didn't really have the commitment probably to learn how to do the fantastical stuff. Um, but also, I'm getting to know you as a person. I'm asking you questions. There's a old. This is kind of going back to my mental health background. When we talk about building rapport with a client, um, we got basically 3 questions. If you really know what you're doing, you can ask 3 questions and have a person really open up to you. Almost anybody. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? Okay, because those are the 3 ways that the average person identifies themselves: by their name, where they're from, like the location, and what they do. And if they only tell you their first name, and they hesitate to tell you their last name, there's probably some sort of familial problem going on there. And it may not be their fault, but there's something you need to be aware of. Is this person going to go back and attack their family member, or are they looking, or is this going to be their outlet? So that is this going to be their new family because they need to belong? It could go either way. Where are they from? Do they list where they live now, or where they came from, where they grew up? That can be very telling. Um, do they what do you do? Do they start listing their work? Do they start listing their children? Okay. Do they list a hobby? What you can find out so much about a person if you ask those 3 questions and let them talk. And what that also does is, because now they've told you those things, that breaks down barriers and builds trust, and they're going to tend to be more honest with you. Now, once they're honest with you, then you have a huge kind of weight on your shoulders there, responsibility, because I've had students come in that almost right off the bat, I knew this person has a problem, but I thought martial arts could help them overcome that problem. And so I let them stay. Okay, encourage them to stay. Sometimes that works out for the good, and sometimes it doesn't. And the hard lesson that I've had to learn there, and I think any of the masters who come on the show would tell you this: at the end of the day, you can only make the best decision you can make with the information you have. And sometimes you are going to regret that decision. It doesn't make you a bad instructor. You can learn from it. But sometimes you're going to end up teaching that person you wish you hadn't taught. That's one of the dangers of a public school, of a commercial school. Um, One more reason why, back in the day, the old masters kept it in the clan, so to speak. They if you didn't live in their village, or in some cases just have their bloodline, you didn't learn in a lot of these systems. And that's why Borja Family Kali is Borja Family Kali, not the name of the island or the name of the village or anything like that. It was the men in his family that had that system, period. The Kobayashi clan, okay, had Yoshiko Tegumi, okay. If you weren't related to them, you pretty much didn't get it. Zorman Sensei was like 1 in a million. You know what I'm saying? Um, and as much as that would kill the commercial aspect of American martial arts for us to go back and do that, we'd have a lot less people walking around misusing it if we went back and did that.
That I guess that kind of segues into another question I have. Then, So, you think first, when you first opened your own school, how big was your class?
Well, my first private classes were only 3 people and myself. And they were Army cadets that I got permission, specific permission to teach them. Um, but then when I came home, finished out my instructor's training, went out and started my own school. I started with, again, it was 3 students. It was a different 3 students, but I started with 3 students in the basement of a church, and they helped me spread the word. And they got me in to do some demonstrations for some Girl Scout and Boy Scout and 4-H groups. And by the time I opened my formal school, I had right around 30 students. Um, the I and I'll be honest with you, there were a lot of things that happened there, but part of it was I was just overwhelmed. 30 some students for a brand new instructor with no assistants is quite a few people to have in a class. Um, and I wasn't able to give quality instruction like I wanted to all of them. Um, so my advice to beginning instructors like yourself, you're a pretty good instructor. I mean, I've had an instructor come in as an instructor in another style, and I don't know if you realized he did it or not, but he didn't just come in and check out our class. He grilled you because he heard about the ranks you had, and he thought there's no way this guy this age could have this rank. He can't really know what he's talking about. And then later on, he's like, I really tested your son, and he really knows what he's talking about. For your age, you are a really, really talented instructor because you've been doing it since you were 6 years old every day of your life, basically. Um, the average.
I didn't realize that happened. I just thought it was another instructor testing my knowledge.
And I figured as much, but um, the most people your age starting off teaching by themselves, I would say don't have more than 2 or 3. You, because of your experience and how many hours of teaching you've done under me, I'd say don't go over 10. 5 to 10 is probably a good number for you. I wouldn't go any bigger than that until you know that you're ready. And you'll know when you're ready because you'll become more and more comfortable with it.
And right now I only have one student that I teach fully. There's other martial artists in my unit. I've sparred a couple of them. We've discussed techniques and styles. There's a Krav Maga guy. There's a couple of Jiu-Jitsu guys. And then there's an American Kimbo individual. And yeah, that's what I've got so far. And I just wanted to know what you recommended. But I want to start my class, a formal open class. But I didn't know what you would recommend on that, so I appreciate it. Appreciate your insight on that.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this podcast, folks. Be sure to tune in next time where we will resume this conversation right where we left off. Until then, keep kicking. And remember to support our sponsor, the Ezra Foundation, in its ongoing effort to end human trafficking worldwide.
Sounds pretty epic.